what we want to do is just a quick statement of the problem or situation or question, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Well, since I've been back,
Want to tell them where you went? Sorry to interrupt, but it's kind of a big thing.
This was my 5th annual spiritual pilgrimage. And then after 10 to 12 days of that, I break away and go and volunteer at a hospital in Dharamsala, India. And then, there's a lot of side travels and little trips here and there, but basically it's usually 6 to 8 weeks. And this time it was about 6 weeks. Usually when I get back, I'm a little bit more mentally organized, but my job kind of evaporated while I was gone. And so I'm not working and I have a lot of free time. And my other issue is motivation. I can't seem to, I'm really really at a deficit for motivation. It's like I find that I pace, that I can't seem to sit down and, just, oh yeah, let me do this. I can't bring myself to that. And like tonight I have to write, and I'm already late, a week late, but I have to write a human interest story and send it to the hospital in India for their newsletter. And so, yeah, I'm just feeling pressured. And I have the time. I mean, I've got, the time. I'm not going to work, but I'm just having a real difficult time. And the one thing I have done is I repaved my front walkway. I went out and I found when I got back, there were about 10 or 15 flies hovering around my bottom step. And so as I went out there the next day to move, I thought, well, maybe a mouse came and brought a bird or something underneath the step outside, when you come in the house. I couldn't find anything, but in the process of moving and then pulling some weeds out, then I had to put the paver back and it looked nice and clean. Well, then I moved the next paver. And then I just got done moving about 70 some pavers.
Oh, yikes.
But I can't write my story and I can't do things in the house. But getting outside in the sun, I don't ever seem to have a problem doing something physical like that. So I don't know what's wrong, but it's really and that's just one. That's probably the highlight.
It sounded like, in general, I can't seem to get motivated. So that's the first statement you made. I wrote down your one-liners as you were talking. And so you weren't motivated to pave the front walk. Is it true? And just a yes or a no. You weren't motivated to pave. This is kind of a weird, because it's you weren't motivated. I just want to we'll use your one-liner. You can't seem to get motivated. All right, so use that right now in the context of the front walk and how it happened. You can't seem to get motivated as you're opening it up, and there goes, and there's the next paper and the next paper and the next paper. You can't seem to get motivated. Is it true? And I know you're talking about indoor things, but I want to start with this.
It's true.
It's true. You can't seem to get motivated.
I seem to feel
related to the walk, the paving of the walk. You're not motivated. Is it true?
I don't know.
You can't seem to get motivated. Well, so what caused you to pick up the pavers?
And there were flies.
The next one and the next one and the next one. So the flies were just the little glimmer of curiosity that brought you out there. And then you saw that, oh, this looks nice when I do that.
Well, it was not so much that I thought it looked nice. I felt like I couldn't leave it like this.
Right. So either way, can you get in touch with the fact that you were motivated?
Yes. Okay.
So,
I think
How
I
do you-
felt the motivation after I
No,
saw.
I'm gonna keep you in this work and not look for explanations or anything. This is a meditation, so you're just dropping in. And how do you react? What happens, even though you've moved 70 pavers today? How do you react? What happens in the privacy of your own heart and mind when you believe the thought, I can't seem to get motivated?
Sounds crazy.
So just looking at, so here you are getting ready, you're knowing you've got this deadline about the newsletter or the human interest story. And so there's part of you that you just noticed, well, I haven't done it. I
Yeah,
haven't done it yet.
it's sitting right
And
there.
then the story comes in. So you're getting ready and you're tell yourself, I'm gonna go to Shawn's call, but I need to work on that story. I'm gonna do this, but I need to work on that story. I can't seem to get motivated. So how do you react in those moments when you think about writing the story, when you believe the thought, I can't seem to get motivated? What happens?
I'm this, therefore I am. Kind of like telling myself that I'm not motivated, so I'm not motivated. So that I don't know if that's the right answer or if I'm answering
So
it.
just totally, yeah, there's no right or wrong, but here you've moved into the role of the observer. You were the believer of the thought, I can't seem to get motivated. Now we're doing research. You became the observer. You're the camera. Just what do you tell yourself? How does it feel in your body? What happens when you believe the thought, I can't seem to get motivated in a specific moment, like starting to get ready to sit
It
down?
causes me anxiety. It's, I feel good on one hand that I'm self-identifying it, because I don't know if that's the right word. If, feeling motivation, I don't know if that's the right, correct word, but that's the best description I can think of.
So stay with how you react. Anxiety, you notice that you've got that story and you feel good that you're noticing the story. What else happens? We're just being the
I feel
camera.
bad. I feel bad. I feel
Yeah.
I kind of know, I think a little bit of what is the background noise that's causing me to feel unsettled. I think because
Um,
when yeah,
so I don't usually switch the one-liners in the middle of something, but since we kind of we're coming into this and it's a Q&A, so we can't, spend hours on it. I'm going to just do a real quick little switch where we're going with the thought that the mind probably gives you, which is, I should be writing that story.
mm-hmm.
So can you think of a situation today when you believed that thought?
What you just said.
When you
Yes.
believe, when you told yourself, I should be writing that story, just think of that situation, just hold
All
yourself
day long. I've been thinking that all day long for the last 2 weeks.
for the right. Okay, so it is hard to find maybe one situation, but so that's basically, how you react when you believe that thought. It's kind of the same thought as the I can't seem to get motivated. So we'll sort of go with your question 3 answer. You feel anxious. Anything else when you believe, I should be writing that story, I should be writing that story, and you notice you're not writing the story? Anything else about how you react?
It's, I mean, other than more anxiety, I kind of question what the hell's wrong with me? Why why can't why am I creating this wall? I mean, the situation with the pavers, I did that over the course of a week, but each time I went outside, I'd lean down and just do another couple pavers.
Right. So whose business is it what shows up and when it shows up? a tricky one. Yours, mine, or God's. If there are three kinds of business, whose business is it when the actual writing of the story gets completed?
Mine.
It's a tricky thing, because if it was your business and if it was your mind orchestrating life, then the thought I should write the story would be enough to write the story.
And
But there's something bigger going on. And when things show up, seems to, on some level,
okay, so
have a mind of its own, be out of our hands.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I know it's kind of the background noise with the family situation that seems to put the wrench in anything I do.
Right. So, or yeah. And so that's, that is actually the level of anxiety, and what you've been through with that creates kind of a low level of depression. It's just kind of with you all the time, based on what I've known. I know things got better in some ways, but that really almost one of the main definitions of depression. And I'm not diagnosing you in any way, but that low motivation, it's hard to get yourself to do anything. And so the fact, if we can continue to work now that you're back on what's going on with the family, and that you get to kind of have a life, even though things are the way they are, but the fact that it's going on and it's kind of eclipsing your brain and taking your energy and taking your concentration and your motivation, I think you're right that it's real. So part of you knows a little bit, like you said, what's going on. But still, let's look at this thought. So that is what's going on. That is what you're doing. That is all you're doing. And at first, the way you told the story, we were thinking you moved the pavers, all 70 of them, right before getting on this call or something. That's the way I heard it. I'm like, oh my goodness.
No, I finished, but it was over the course of like maybe 4 days where it wasn't.
Yeah, well, it's still a lot if you do a few each day. And I love that we have that example, because we want to come back to that as a sort of an archetype. So, but who would you be in? And I would still like us to pick a moment that you can see in your mind. Pick a moment where you thought you should sit down and write the story, and then you did. Maybe you
And I
just
didn't.
carved out some time. Okay, I'm going to do that right after lunch. And then you didn't. Can you pick one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so see that moment in your mind. And I don't know what you did instead, but who would you be in that same moment without the thought, I can't seem to get motivated, I should get this story done, and whatever bad feelings and stories get piled on top of that with it? Who would you be without that whole story, that there's something wrong or bad going on here, that this story isn't getting written? It doesn't mean you don't still have a deadline or a thing you're going to get done. You just don't have the story, I should be doing this.
I mean, I think I'd be happier, but I think I recognize that it's almost like I recognize that I do have a problem. This issue with my family, it just pervades me, and it's like a dark cloud that won't go away. I'm glad that I'm aware of it, but I can't seem to stop it.
So being in India, where there was no possibility of seeing or not seeing your family anyway, how was that?
Oh, it's great. I mean,
Did you get some relief from the story, or is it still with you all the time?
I got a lot of relief from the story because I was very busy and I was around people and they needed me and they called me and they said, let's go do this and go do that. And so that's
Right.
one element of the family that I don't get.
So in a way, that's how we got to observe who you would be without that story.
Right.
And
Okay.
again, that's a different piece of work.
I was productive. I was
But the
very,
fact that your mind comes up with, this is family, these are the people that need to want to see and be with me. This is what they need to do in order to make me feel whole. All of that is sort of the mind comes up with those definitions, as opposed to you get to observe as, oh, I was still happy and fulfilled and all of that here, because the mind knew that all this wasn't even a possibility while you were there. And so anyway, just to start to continue to see that the unhappiness isn't only created by the situation, it's created by the thinking and the worry and the
Oh,
expectation.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
It's mostly created by my thinking.
right.
I mean,
So we're gonna have to
95%.
just stay on top of, just keep catching the story. It should be this way. So again, we'll just wrap up. I think for anybody who's trying to get something done, and it's really important to notice that your mind can keep saying, I should do this, I should do this, I should be doing this, I should have done this yesterday. Why didn't I do this a week ago? And it's just mind, it's worthless chatter in a way, because it does not actually dictate your actions. Something coalesces and comes together and you get things done. And when you're in the place of not having this, I need it to be this way and I'm bad because it's not. And I mean, like I said, the awareness, and you've said the awareness that your motivation is low and something big is going on here with you is good. It's good to notice it. But also the story of the being hard on yourself, the needing yourself to do things you can't do. For whatever reason, you can't do it. You can't, meaning you're not showing up and doing it. Something in you is fighting doing that. And just to, without that thought, you might be really curious and compassionate and say, wow, what do I want to be doing right now? I want to curl up in a little ball and not write a story. Or what are the stories about the story? I don't have anything to say, what is it, to try to really say, how am I getting in my own way? What's going on with this story thing? You may or may not actually do it, people, and that'll be just part of the data. It doesn't mean I'm saying don't keep deadlines or don't, but to really care what's going on with you, to count the things you do, like the stone pavers. Okay, you were somehow, that's how motivation really shows up. And all of a sudden, you're going to probably sit down and write that story for whatever reason. But to be the kind of the hero of you that says, oh, sweetie, it's okay, whatever's going on. I get that. You haven't been able to do that and really have a conversation with the part of you. Okay, what would you need to be able to do that? So if we were going to turn it around, I should have already written that story.
That's it. That's the truth.
Okay, I should have already written that story. Would it be my should have story, my regret hell thing? So turn it around. If you did the opposite, I shouldn't have.
Okay, so this is where I need to catch back up with everything. So when you turn it around, you do the opposite.
Right, this one is the opposite. There's the three turnarounds: the self, the other, and the opposite.
Okay.
And because we don't have, well, let's see where we go with the self and the other. But for right now, when it's sort of aimed at you instead of another person, the work is a lot set up to be pointing the finger outward. So
Right.
if it was someone else should have written the story, then when you turn it, anyway, but this is, I shouldn't have written this story. So give me 3 examples of why the statement I shouldn't have written the story are as true or truer than the mind believing the statement I should have written it.
I can't think of any.
I shouldn't have written the story because I felt what when you were getting ready to write it? I felt unmotivated, depressed,
Oh, I
scared.
shouldn't have written a story because I felt like I can't sit still. or I shouldn't have written a story because I'm old and I'm not as talented as I used to be. I don't know. I'm having a
Well, that's but whatever you were believing, I shouldn't have written the story because I was believing I'm not as good at doing that kind of thing as I used to be. So that would keep you from wanting to do it if you've got a lot of self-doubt going on. Right. So this is just ways of looking at reality as it shows up. And then I shouldn't have written the story because I didn't is the biggest one.
okay.
And
Well,
that's sort of a way of really trusting, because I know for me, I can just flog myself with regrets and, oh, why didn't I spend my time that way? And why can't I do something that I set my mind to do? And in the old days, but this helped me so much. I shouldn't have, because I didn't. If you have the story, I should write the story. I should write the story. Well, you shouldn't write the story until you do. How will you know when you need to write the story is when you see yourself writing it. And I know this is a really outrageous way to think of things, but it helped me and others with time management so much. So
I
you
think I
should,
have a I think I have a hard time with that statement. I shouldn't have written a story because in my mind I should have. So
right?
I
But should,
struggle with
right?
that.
So, right. And my mind was, my mom said should have all the time, and I grew up believing should have was real. There is no should have. There's only what showed up.
Right,
It's just a total human thing, I think my dog doesn't say, oh, I should have caught that ball differently, or
right.
there is no other should have. I understand that it's people's way of reflecting and going, oh, I could have done it differently, but no, you couldn't have, because you didn't. You did it. You could only have done it the way you did, because that's what showed up. You shouldn't have written that story because you didn't. So if we, again, I'm shifting a little again, if we go back with the should one, I should write the story. I should write the story. I need to
I
write this.
need to
I
write the
should
story.
write the story. What?
I need to write the story.
Okay, need to is the same. I need to write the story. I have to write the story. I want to write the story. And how will you know when those things are really supposed to happen?
When I do it.
When they do happen, and not a moment sooner. I always, and I have learned to really trust what shows up. I dropped my pen, sorry. Trust what shows up and when it shows up, and just notice that the mind games that we do to ourselves can actually be, depression is really just the piling on of the thoughts and the beliefs, and it should be this way, and I should have done that, and now I'm bad, and I'm old, and I'm not motivated, and I'm the family, and I'm not, again, saying that that's it, but it really is. It is a killer of motivation. So if we go back with and not do the regret should have, if we just do the I should write the story, in any given moment, again, I shouldn't write the story until I do. I shouldn't write the story unless I do. I don't need to until I do. And that doesn't mean there aren't consequences. The people at the newsletter might be mad at you. But it doesn't happen until it happens. And so if you really want it to happen, then you start to really look into, how am I getting in my own way? And our aligned action adventure group is so much about going from point A to point B, setting a specific goal. And there's even an aligned action focus form where you set the goal and you say, okay, I'm going to write this story. First draft of the story, you be very specific. I'm going to write 3 pages of the story, or whatever it is, very specific, by tomorrow at noon. And then you notice in the little second square, how do you think you might get in your way? Because you know yourself. So you say, oh, I'm probably going to get distracted working in the
I'll get
yard.
sleepy. I'll get sleepy.
I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to tell myself I can't do it. So for each one of those where you already know yourself well enough, then you come up with an SAS, which is a self-accountability strategy. and say, okay, what's it going to take? Do I need someone to come and sit with me? I mean, Beth does a thing with friends where they work parallel on Zoom,
Yeah,
something like that. And
that would probably be good.
yeah, and something like that would, and they're not talking or necessarily, they might support each other a little, but it's mostly just to say, I really want to show up and do this thing. And I'm not going to get up and leave. I'm going to stay with this other person who's over there doing what they're doing. So you can set an alarm if you're sleeping. You can say, okay, I'm really sleepy, but I want to write the story. So I'm going to, setting an alarm is another. So then each day that you don't do it, you just notice, oh my goodness, I did it. I didn't do it. I did it. I didn't do it, for each of these things, and no judgment. It's just like data. Oh, look at that. Another day went by and she didn't do it. And but no judgment, just that's what's showing up. That's life showing up. And then on the days you didn't do it, you look at, okay, why didn't I do it? And you get real specific. What's the story that's holding you back? There might be a lot of other things that are more important to you. You might realize you really are dealing with, like you said, you sounds like you really are in a place where motivation may be an issue. So we could work more on figure out what's going on with that. So then that's your work. Find the story in any given moment. What was the story? I'm too old to do this. I'm too tired to do this. So even before you take that nap, you might say, no, I'm not too tired to do this. I'm going to sit down and at least make some bullet points about what it's going to be about. And then, you just start to really be on your own side and help yourself with how you're getting in your way. But none of it is being hard on yourself. It's just, wow, we're just taking a look, what's going on here. And I don't know, I like to tell this story. Maybe it'll help, maybe not. Maybe you've all heard it before, which is that when I first started teaching online classes and we had slides, we did it on instant teleseminar, which was over the phone, but there was a way I could send out a link and show slides online. And I was like, okay, it's 2 weeks before, I got to work on the slides. I got to get those slides made. And then pretty soon it was a week before and I didn't have the slides made. It was 2 days before. Well, surely I'm going to make the slides today. And there's certain other things more important, more urgent, everything kept getting in front of doing the slides. And then it's the morning of the thing and it's like, I got to make the slides. I've got to do the slides. So then it was 2 hours before and I sat down and made the slides just like that. And two things that had happened, one the night before and one that morning, completely informed my thinking about the slides. It's not that I couldn't have done them before and they would have been sort of different, but because I had this real clarity because of things that happened right before then. And it's not to say to leave everything for the last minute, but it could be that all the things you were doing there were A, more important to you and more urgent. B, were sort of, getting you ready to be able to do the thing so that when you do sit down and do it, it just flows, as opposed to trying to force yourself to do it at a time when you just can't. For whatever reason, you just can't. And you're not even in charge of that reason in some ways, except to do this proactive kind of focus on why am I not doing it. So we'll be interested in
I have actually 2 stories to write, but
right.
this will be for, I think, the next quarter newsletter. Yeah.
Right. And it's really important to notice, you know what? I don't want to do this. Maybe I just don't want to do it. And it helps you to get really honest and don't agree to things that you think you're not going to be able to do or that you really don't want to do.
That's the thing is Dr. Sutton, he gives me these really strange assignments. But I'm there in India. He pulls me into surgery. He's got me going around with the doctors. I think he forgets I'm a nurse, but he gives me these really weird assignments. And, it's the least I could do is to give this back. I can write a story. But when I was asked to do this 4 years ago in 2019, I procrastinated, and then COVID hit. And so I never got the story written. And that was just about my experience there. So I think I am feeling right now that I wish I could just close this and go write the story. So my motivation, I think, all of you now know about it. So I have a sense of accountability.
Right.
So thank
Sometimes
you.
that's what that in that group we do self-accountability partners, but it's not somebody else making you accountable. It's self-accountability. I'm gonna enlist my husband to make sure I wake up. I'm gonna set an alarm. I'm gonna get somebody to do the work with me on the thinking that's getting in my way. And you have the choice actually to say bye to us and close the computer and go work on it if you really want to. And I think so much of this is about just be really checking in with you and being conscious about making agreements that you really want to keep. If you've made an agreement you feel you can't keep, to call in your notice rather than just kind of not doing it, to say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm afraid I've agreed to something that now I'm realizing I really can't or don't want to do. And I think most relationships breakdowns happen because of a lack of clear agreements.
And I don't want to jeopardize my relationship with him. It's an amazing opportunity for me when I go there, and yeah. And this really is insignificant compared to what I gain from going there.
For now, one way even would be, if you don't mind, if it's not private, we would love for you to share it on the Happiness Hacks group. So that's another way that you would say, hey, all these people are on that Happiness Hacks Facebook group, or send it to me and I'll post it. You don't have to, but just so that we're interested in what you're doing out there, but also as a way to go, okay, would it help for you to make a commitment to us? And then again, it's not about getting it done ever. It's about the process of supporting yourself to stay with, by, and for these dear parts of you that for whatever reason just can't do it, and to do the work on the ways you're getting in your way.
Yeah.
If you were coaching you now, I mean, you know what you need. Maybe you've been in India. I think you may just want to give yourself permission give yourself some days to rest or sleep and just love this you that's been through so much this year, Cindy. It's like maybe you just need to, sometimes when I feel that going on, that lack of motivation, and I'm super passionate about what I do, I'll just stop, and watch Law and Order for 3 hours or something. And then I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go again now. But just when like this part of you says, no, we just can't do it. We're too little. So you're like, be the one who takes care of that you.
Well, I
And
do.
Stop putting it out in the hands of your family or other people that can't be there for it. Stop beating it up, asking it to do grown-up work when it's too little.
Yeah. I realized two things. One, I think that my sense of not of abandonment, that's just a broad term, but my sense of feeling excluded, I think it came from when I was about 3 and I woke up and my mommy wasn't home, and I cried. I can still hear my tears crying, Mommy. And the other thing, and I just forgot what I was going to say.
Anyway, so I want to check in, but
Thank
it's
you.
good to really realize that, there are parts of us where the trauma is really brought forward. It's living in our bodies. And now it's funny that here you are with the support to work through that. Something in your life shows up to mirror it to you and to
And everybody, thank you for listening. I know we took up a lot of time, so thank you for your graciousness.
Well, I would say too that almost everybody has these time management issues, and the idea that how do we know what needs to happen in any given moment? We look and see what is happening. I mean, it's radical to start thinking that way and go, okay, well, I guess it wasn't supposed to happen now because it didn't. Who knows what'll be next? It's like, here you are just watching the movie of your life. It's a cliffhanger. Ooh, when will Cindy write the story? She thinks she's going to write it. She thought she was going to write it 2 weeks ago. And she's still, it's almost like you're really turning it over and supporting yourself with what you can do, and just not flogging yourself with all those stories